I didn't know her name when I first heard her scream. I only remember the sound, not loud, not desperate, but wrong. Like someone discovering pain for the first time and realizing it would never stop. By the time I turned my head, the beach was already stained red. She stood there naked and trembling, pink hair clinging to her face, eyes empty in a way that frightened me more than blood ever could. Around her, bodies lay twisted in shapes that didn't belong to humans anymore. I didn't understand how it had happened. I didn't ask. I should have run. Instead, I picked up my jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. That was the first mistake, the one that doomed everything that came after. They later told me her species was called They said the horns on her head marked her as something other than human. They said she was dangerous, uncontrollable, a weapon. But none of that mattered then, because when she looked at me, she looked like a child who had been abandoned too many times to cry anymore. She didn't speak. She didn't scream. She only clutched my sleeve like I might disappear if she let go, and something inside me broke open. We brought her home. I don't remember anyone arguing. I don't remember weighing risks. It felt inevitable, as if the world had already decided she would end up under our roof. No matter how many laws or warnings tried to stop it, she couldn't remember her name. So we called her New, a harmless sound, a harmless lie. She smiled when we said it, wide and innocent, and for a moment, I convinced myself that the blood on the beach had nothing to do with her. That lie lasted exactly one night. It started small, objects shifting when no one touched them. A cup sliding off a table as she passed, a door slamming shut though there was no wind. I told myself it was stress, trauma, coincidence. But then there were the looks. Every now and then, her expression would change, not anger, not fear, but something colder, older, like someone waking up from a dream and remembering a lifetime of hatred. When that happened, the air felt heavier, my skin prickled, as if invisible fingers hovered inches away. Then, she would blink, smile again, and say, New, and I would tell myself I imagined everything. Love doesn't arrive loudly. It seeps in through routine, through shared meals, through quiet moments where nothing goes wrong. She followed me everywhere. If I stood up, she stood up. If I left the room, she panicked. If someone else got too close, she stared at them with an intensity that made my stomach tighten. At first, I thought it was dependency. Later, I realized it was ownership. The first time she killed someone in front of me, I didn't see her move. 1 second, the man was shouting angry, careless words. The next, his body came apart, as if torn by something I couldn't see. Blood sprayed across the walls, bone cracked like wet wood, and she stood there, completely still. No rage, no remorse, just calm. I vomited. I screamed. I begged her to stop. She turned toward me, eyes empty again, and then she smiled. Kuta, she whispered. She had never said my name before. That was when fear finally sank its teeth into my heart. They say trauma can split a person in two. With Lucy, because that was her real name, it wasn't a metaphor. There was New, soft, gentle, terrified of being alone. And there was Lucy, aware, calculating, soaked in violence. When Lucy surfaced, the world bent around her. Invisible arms, vectors sliced through space itself. Walls cracked. People screamed before they even understood they were dying. And the worst part, USC loved me, not gently, not safely. She loved me like a storm loves the shore, not caring what it destroys as long as it can reach it. I tried to leave once, just once. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't say goodbye. I just stepped outside and closed the door quietly behind me. The pressure hit me before I reached the gate. Something invisible wrapped around my chest, squeezing until I couldn't breathe. I collapsed, gasping, as the air itself seemed to vibrate with rage. Then I heard her voice inside my head. You're leaving. Not a question, an accusation. I crawled back inside. Lucy was standing there, smiling softly, tears streaming down her face. I was scared, she said. I thought you didn't love me anymore. The walls around us were cracked. The furniture splintered. I told her I would never leave again. And I meant it, because by then, I understood the truth. Loving her meant surviving her. The nightmares started soon after. I dreamed of invisible hands pulling me apart while she watched. Expression unreadable. I dreamed of beaches covered in corpses, her silhouette standing among them like a queen surveying her kingdom. Sometimes I woke up with bruises on my arms, fingerprints I couldn't explain. Sometimes I woke up to her watching me sleep, not blinking. People who got close to me didn't last. Accidents, disappearances, tragedies. I stopped asking questions, because every time someone died, Lucy held me tighter afterward, as if tragedy fed her affection. As if the world shrinking around us proved that I belonged to her more completely. That was when I realized something horrifying. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of sharing me. And fear, in her hands, became annihilation. I loved her. That's the part people don't understand. Even as the horror mounted, even as guilt crushed my lungs, I loved her. Because when she looked at me, really looked, I saw a child who had been beaten, experimented on, torn apart by a world that never asked if she wanted to be a monster. And because sometimes, late at night, when Lucy slept and you stirred, she would whisper, "Don't leave me," and I never did. But love like that does not fade. It sharpens, it isolates, it prepares itself for something final. And deep down, I knew long before the world began to burn, that this story could only end one way, because love that demands the destruction of everything else is already a form of death. The world did not end all at once. It fractured, crack by crack, scream by scream, choice by choice, and at the center of it all stood Lucy, smiling, bleeding, loving, while I watched everything I had tried to protect collapse around us. By the time the authorities closed in, there was no pretending anymore. Sirens wailed in the distance like wounded animals, helicopters cut through the sky, their searchlights tearing holes in the darkness. I felt Lucy tense beside me, not with fear, but with anticipation. "They're coming for me," she said calmly. Her voice wasn't angry, it wasn't desperate, it was relieved, as if the world had finally decided to confirm what she had always known about herself. I told her we could run, I told her we could hide. She laughed, soft and almost affectionate. "There's nowhere left to hide," she said. "Not from them, not from me." Her mind was unraveling. I could see it now, clearly. The way Lucy and Noy no longer stayed neatly apart. Memories bled together. Emotions overlapped. Love curdled into possession, guilt into fury. She remembered the laboratory. Cold metal restraints. Needles piercing her skull. Scientists scussing her like she wasn't alive. She remembered the children who threw stones at her horns. The laughter, the fear, and she remembered me, the boy who had once promised never to leave. The promise I broke. That fracture, that single moment of abandonment, had grown into something monstrous inside her. Every death that followed traced itself back to that wound. And now, with the world closing in, it demanded resolution. The first shots rang out like punctuation marks at the end of hope. Lucy didn't flinch. Invisible vectors exploded outward, slicing through armored vehicles, tearing soldiers apart mid-scream. Bodies lifted into the air, limbs separating in showers of red. The air itself screamed. I dropped to my knees, hands over my ears, choking on the metallic smell of blood and smoke. "Stop," I screamed. "Please." She turned toward me slowly. For a moment, I saw anew, frightened, shaking, overwhelmed by the chaos she didn't fully understand. Then Lucy stepped forward. "This is the only way," she said gently. "If the world won't let us be together, then there won't be a world left to stop us." That was the moment I realized the truth. She didn't want to survive. She wanted finality. Love, to her, meant erasing every threat, even if that meant erasing herself. As the bodies piled higher, something inside me finally shattered. I saw what staying meant. Not just more death, but the slow erasure of my own humanity. Becoming a witness, an accomplice, a symbol of permission. I loved her, but loving her now meant letting everything die. I stood up, legs shaking, and stepped toward her. She smiled. "You chose me," she whispered. I reached out not to embrace her, but to stop her. And that was when she screamed. Not in rage, in agony. The conflicting selves inside her tore against each other violently. Neil cried, clutching her head, begging for the pain to stop. Lucy raged, vectors thrashing wildly, reducing everything around us to ruin. The ground cracked beneath our feet, buildings collapsed in on themselves like dying beasts. I screamed her name over and over, my voice raw, until she finally looked at me again. This time, her eyes were full of terror. "Kuta," she whispered, "I don't know how to stop." The final choice was never hers. It was mine. They say love means sacrifice, but they never tell you who has to pay. I remembered the beach, the jacket, the lie I told myself. And I understood too late that saving her back then had not been an act of kindness. It had been an act of defiance against a world that wasn't ready to forgive her. Now, forgiveness would cost everything. I stepped forward, ignoring the invisible pressure crushing my bones. "I love you," I said. Her face crumpled. "That's why you have to stop." For the first time, Lucy hesitated. That hesitation was enough. The shot echoed louder than any scream. For a fraction of a second, the world went silent. Then Lucy staggered. Her vectors dissolved into nothingness, snapping away like broken strings. Blood bloomed across her chest, dark and unreal. She looked down, confused. Then she looked back at me and smiled. Not Lucy's smile. "Noise. It's okay," she whispered as she fell into my arms. "You stayed." The destruction around us slowed, then stopped entirely, as if the world itself exhaled in relief. I held her as life drained from her body, her blood soaking into my clothes, her breath growing shallow and uneven. Tears streamed down my face, blinding me. "I'm sorry," I whispered again and again. She reached up weakly, touching my cheek. "I was scared," she said. "But it doesn't hurt anymore." Then her hand went still. The silence afterward was unbearable. No sirens, no screams, no movement, just ruins, just bodies, just the weight of everything that could never be undone. They called it a tragedy. They called it containment. They called it necessary. But none of their words touched the truth. This wasn't a battle between humanity and monsters. It was a love story that never learned how to stop hurting. Sometimes, late at night, I hear her voice. Sometimes I feel invisible fingers brush my skin. Sometimes I wonder if she really died, or if love that violence simply found another place to haunt. Because even now, when I close my eyes, I still see her smile. And I know, this love story didn't end with death. It ended with annihilation. Of the world she touched, and of the boy who loved her.